In this video, how to get tax residency in Paraguay. Whether you're a digital nomad, investor, or expat seeking a low tax haven in South America, Paraguay's territorial tax system makes it an attractive option for pretty much anybody. This is a country where they tax local income at a flat 10% tax rate, which is already excellent, and foreign source income is 0% tax. So in this video, we'll cover eligibility for the program, the full process, timelines, and tax benefits, including rates on capital gains in dividends and earned income, and pitfalls to avoid, all based on the latest information from the DNIT, the Dirección Nacional de Ingresos Tributarios, and migration authorities, and anecdotes as a practitioner. Because MyLatinLife, we're a full-scale immigration consultancy. We help people get residency and tax residency in Paraguay. So this is straight facts to help you navigate this efficiently. So let's get into it. So Paraguay's tax residency is governed by Law 125-1991 and the Income Tax Law, the IRE, which established a territorial regime where residents are taxed solely on Paraguayan source income, exempting foreign earnings entirely. This contrasts with worldwide taxation in places like the US, and it also contrasts with residency-based taxation, which is what's common in Canada, the EU, Australia, etc. In Paraguay, you're deemed a tax resident if your quote-unquote center of vital interests is in Paraguay. Typically, this is done by spending more than 120 days in a calendar year there, though no strict minimum day rule exists. There's other ways where you can qualify if you're unable to meet that 120 days. Factors include family ties, so you could get residency for your spouse or children in Paraguay, and that will help with the family ties. Another factor is economic activity. So that might mean starting up a business in Paraguay, getting a tax ID, filing monthly returns, etc. Another factor might be what's called habitual abode, where if you own property in Paraguay, you can sort of consider that your domicile. So getting property, buying property in Paraguay is a really good idea so that you can get a utility bill and a residential address in your name. What's cool about Paraguay is, unlike the 183-day threshold in a lot of OECD countries, Paraguay's 120-day guideline, allows for a bit more flexibility, and even shorter stays can qualify if you establish strong ties, like a local address or business. And yes, MyLatinLife, we can get you a residential address in Paraguay. We have a service for that. Yes, we can spin up a business entity for you in Paraguay. So pretty much anything you need in order to get that and solidify that tax residency. So you might be wondering, is it possible to be a tax resident in more than one country? And the answer is yes. It's actually very easy to get tax residency, which might sound counterintuitive, but any country wants tax residents. Actually, more of the trick is eliminating or ending your tax residency on your other country. So if you're from Canada, if you're from the EU, actually a lot of the focus is on cutting your ties to your home country if they have an unfavorable tax system. So Paraguay is going to take you in to be a tax resident, but your previous country kind of wants to keep their claws on you. They want it for obvious reasons. They want you. They want the tax money to keep coming in. So a lot of the strategy is about building ties with Paraguay while also reducing ties with your home country. Another thing worth mentioning is that tax residency differs from legal residency, but often overlaps. And we've talked about this in multiple videos on our channel, the difference between legal and tax residency. So basically what most people do, what you kind of have to do in this case, is pursue legal status first to solidify your tax claim. In other words, you need to get legal residency in Paraguay first in order to get tax residency. Okay? In 2025, over 50,000 foreigners hold Paraguay residency per Migraciones data directly from Paraguay. And it's a very easy country to get residency. If you're watching this video, you probably already know that. But MyLatinLife, we can help you get residency in Paraguay. We have multiple videos on our channel explaining how to get legal residency in Paraguay. Long story short, you're probably going to start as a temporary resident first. You're going to work towards permanent residency. But even as a temporary residency, you can still be considered a tax resident. Cool. So the system has evolved from the 1990s in Paraguay to attract FDI, to attract foreign direct investment. And it's possible to get a RUC, a tax ID. It's called a RUC. We have another video on our channel about how you get that. Typically, you're going to get that after you are a resident and after you get the cedula, which is like the foreigner ID card. And then once you have the cedula, once you have the RUC, you can start filing taxes in Paraguay. And basically, if you have a tax ID and you're filing in Paraguay, that pretty much makes you a tax resident right there. You can even take the additional step of getting a tax residency certificate. Not everybody even necessarily needs that, but it can be good as well to help solidify your tax residency. And so you might be wondering, how do you file a tax return if you have no local source income? And long story short is you could literally be filing zeros. And every year, every month, it's just like 0, 0, 0. Now, it would probably be better if you were actually paying something, not because Paraguay desires it or needs it, or it's not that it's obligatory that you pay something, but it would actually help with getting out of the Canadian or European or Australian tax system. Because you might find that they say, did you pay taxes somewhere else? Yes or no. There might be some form saying, did you file somewhere else? Did you pay something somewhere else? Was this income subject to taxation somewhere else? And that's why, in order to check those boxes favorably, it might make sense to pay something. And so there's a bit of a strategy there that we help people with. We help people structure their income and tax efficiency worldwide. So again, eligibility hinges on legal residency first, as tax status builds upon that. To get residency, we have multiple videos on our channel, but you're going to need no criminal record. If you have a criminal record, we can potentially help with that, but ideally no criminal record. You're going to need a valid passport, proof of solvency. Ideally, you're going to need visa-free to Paraguay. You need to be from a country where you can enter as a tourist in Paraguay. So if you're from India or some Asian or African countries, it's going to be a little bit more complex. But if you have visa-free to Paraguay, then it makes it very easy, because to apply for residency, that's done on the ground in Paraguay. It's not done through the consulate system. It's done on the ground in Paraguay. And then after temporary residency, after 2 years on TR, your residency will renew to PR, which will further solidify your tax residency. So we're going to register you for the RUC, the RUC, which is the tax ID. You're probably going to need to be in person to get that done in Paraguay. So keep that in mind, that after you get approved for residency, if you leave the country while you're waiting for your approval, you will need to come back to apply for the RUC, which is just a one-day, one in-person appointment that we typically need you there for. It might be possible to do the RUC remotely, but it's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more expensive. Okay, so you'll have your cedula, you'll have your passport, you'll have address proof ideally, and that'll help you get the RUC. And then once you have these things, you can further establish your ties to Paraguay. You can rent a place, or we can get you an address. You can buy a place. You can open a local bank account. I would say multiple bank accounts. You can invest, and You'll actually then be filing at least a little bit of money on your tax returns because you'll be paying taxes on the capital gains and the dividend income, etc., from those investments. We can get you a driver's license as well, which is surprisingly important because if you give up your tax residency in somewhere like Canada or Europe, you should probably be giving up your driver's license there too. So you're going to need a driver's license from somewhere. And in Paraguay, we can get you a driver's license and we can get you a motorcycle license as well. Okay? Probably worth mentioning at this point in time, I know we covered a lot of ground. If this sounds like something you're interested in, MyLatinLife, we're a full-scale immigration consultancy. There's a link in the description of this video where you can book a call with us. You can be speaking to us as early as this week. You can get on our calendar. We can answer all your burning questions about Paraguay residency, tax residency. You can select us to be your team to get you residency in Paraguay, and we can complete all of these services for you. We can wrap it all together as a big package, or we can do individual services as needed. And of course, we cover every other country in Latin America as well. So people often get other services with us because the whole idea of a territorial tax system is you need to be earning your money outside of Paraguay. So you might find that you need bank accounts somewhere else, whether it's the US or Panama or Uruguay, and we can help obtain those bank accounts as well. The benefits of tax residency are very compelling. Digital nomads, this is huge for them, for crypto investors, for any kind of international investor, for anyone living abroad, any kind of expat. Paraguay is really the place to be for a Plan B residency and, of course, for tax residency as well. Reason being is you have a territorial tax country with 0% tax on foreign income. That includes salaries, dividends, or crypto gains from abroad. On local income, that you're going to pay a flat 10% tax after deductions. So if you have, say, a rental property in Paraguay, you can even deduct things before you even pay tax, right? So if you're buying, you're painting the walls, you're paying for the Wi-Fi, you're doing all these things, you can deduct that against the 10% tax that you're paying in Paraguay. Or if you run a business local in Paraguay, and surprisingly, maybe unsurprisingly, a lot of people do. They say, hey, maybe I have to pay taxes somewhere. 10% is really not that bad. And there's not a lot of countries with 10% or sub 10% taxes in the world. I think Dubai is even like 8% now or something like that. So there's really not that many countries. Like it's one of the best countries in the world for taxes. Even for those Paraguay source taxes that you would have to pay, it's still a really solid option. Capital gains will be 10% on Paraguayan assets like stocks or real estate held for less than a year. There are also long-term exemptions that would apply for primary residences. So if you just buy one condo that again serves strategically as your domicile, that will also potentially have exemptions from taxes on it. Dividends are taxed 8 to 10% withholding. Interest hold on local bank yields is 10% as well. Foreign interest is 0% unless remitted. And Paraguay's, it just keeps going. There's no wealth tax, there's no inheritance tax, no gift tax, no exit taxes to my knowledge. So it's literally like the best possible tax regime that you can have. The VAT or sales tax is 10% for residents, and it also can be reclaimable in some situations. Again, corporate entities, 10% tax on local profits for entities. There's no CFC rules, so offshore corporations stay separate. So very simple from a corporate tax perspective. Okay. Banking wise, you can have USD accounts. You can also have a Paraguayan currency account. The local currency is called the PYG or the Guarani. The Paraguayan Guarani is the currency. And it's been a very stable currency historically. You can pull up the chart over the past 20 years, and it's been a very stable currency. So if you want to diversify away from the US dollar, you can do that. You can hold euros, you can hold all different currencies in Paraguay, and you can hold the guarani as well. And even actually the ATMs in Paraguay, a lot of the ATMs, you can withdraw US dollars from the ATMs, which is pretty cool. So how does Paraguay stack up to its peers, countries like Uruguay or Panama or some of the other territorial tax countries in Latin America? Well, that's why I love Latin America, for one thing, is there's a lot of territorial tax countries in the region. You have Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Panama, and more. Uruguay is a little bit more complicated. They have more rules, right? You need to invest money, or you have a strict physical presence requirement. So Uruguay's is a little bit harder to obtain. Panama is a territorial tax system, but the banking is a little bit more strict there. They are on some like gray lists, blacklists still, although they've been doing a good job of getting off some of those lists. And also for Panama, they want you to spend 6+ months a year there in order to be considered a tax resident. There may be a way to get a tax residency certificate spending less than 6 months if you have very significant ties in Panama or in Uruguay, and I'm talking about depositing multiple six figures in the banks there. But with Paraguay, you don't need to deposit multiple six figures, and you potentially don't need to do that physical presence either. So Paraguay really edges ahead in terms of the ease of getting tax residency and also getting a tax residency certificate, which isn't necessarily the same thing, by the way. So in summary, Paraguay's tax residency is straightforward. It's probably one of the easiest tax residencies in the world, and in a very favorable jurisdiction, one of the best tax systems in the world, honestly. So again, you got to enter as a tourist, secure temporary residency first, get your cedula and your RUC, start filing in Paraguay, start building your ties, and that's going to make you a tax resident, and that's going to allow you to escape your high tax system. If this video has inspired you, if this has got the wheels turning in your head, again, link in the description to book a call with us. We're ready to speak with you right away, answer all your burning questions, and ultimately get that Paraguay residency card in your hands. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. We have lots of videos on Paraguay and tax residency options around the world, and we'll see you in the next video.